plateau surrounded by sagebrush-swept desert and the forested peaks of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Efforts to preserve the area's native culture and adobe architecture have resulted in much research on the Pueblo tribes and restoration of Pueblo ruins. Santa Fe is an active artists and writers colony. Novelist D.H. Lawrence wrote that the moment I saw the brilliant, proud morning shine high up over the deserts of Santa Fe, something stood still in my soul, and the old world gave way to a new. The Grand Canyon, carved by the Colorado River, that fact seems an impossibility when the slim ribbon of water is seen from the rim of the canyon. It is a just measure of the scope of this great wonder that the mighty Colorado is dwarfed by the very canyon it created. The history of the land for millions of years is written in the sediments, chiseled in stone by time and the incalculable forces of nature. An island of neon in the middle of a desert, Las Vegas comes alive after dark with an explosion of lights.
I am the star. You better.
Glitzy, glamorous, tacky, or merely amazing. Whichever the description, it's accurate. Surely Las Vegas has more neon per square mile than any other place on Earth.
The principle of glass blowing is the same that it's always been. It's heating the glass evenly all the way around and then just letting it cool by itself. Anything that you draw in the form of a letter or a picture, we can make.
Las Vegas, the art of taking excess to extremes. Called Death Valley for its searing sands and soaring temperatures, it is in fact filled with life. Busy, scurrying creatures often sleep by day and hunt in the cool of night. Spring wildflowers burst into bloom, dotting the desert sands with brilliant color. Called the Golden West, the Pacific region stretches from California to Alaska to the Hawaiian Islands. A land of opposites, sandy, sun-soaked southern beaches give way to misty, mysterious northern rainforests. The roar of fire and ice fills the air from active volcanoes to ancient glaciers. Often described as suburbs in search of a city, Los Angeles sprawls across 1,000 square miles of low desert. America's love affair with the automobile reaches its peak in LA. And if only for a moment, grown men become boys in a sea of roaring classics. People don't walk in LA, they drive. And of course, the freeway traffic is legendary. Burbank's Media City is home to some of the most famous movie studios. Walt Disney Studio, locally known as the Mickey Mouse House, Warner Brothers, and the NBC television studios are all here. Many of Hollywood's most memorable moments were born in Burbank.
Get on. No objections. No objections.
No objections.
From the early comedies to the blockbuster epics, Hollywood continues to entertain its audiences.
Got a big head. I know, I got a big head too.
What's one word for fun on the beach? The answer has to be Venice. Rollerblading, playing volleyball, sauntering or sunning, Venice has everything a beach could possibly offer. Called the world's most dramatic geological spectacle, Yosemite National Park turns every superlative into an understatement. Yosemite Valley is walled by sheer granite cliffs 1 mile high, from which waterfalls cascade. The highest waterfall on the North American continent, Yosemite Falls, plunges 2,425 feet in 2 levels. The upper fall is 1,500 feet high, by itself 9 times the height of Niagara. Glaciers left behind El Capitan, the largest known single block of granite in the world, and the massive Half Dome, so sheer it appears to have been cut with a knife. Spanning the opening to the bay, the mile-long Golden Gate Bridge is San Francisco's best-known landmark. Built in 1935 during America's Great Depression, it is easily one of the most beautiful bridges in the world.
A lot of times we're up high on the tower. Once in a while we have to go up in the tower and do this and that. We were up in the sunshine and we couldn't even see the deck from there, so high. But it was nice sometimes, but most of the time it was miserable. But it was honest and the money was there and we were crazy to do it, so we loved it.
During the gold rush, Chinese men imported to build the Transcontinental Railroad flooded into San Francisco. Chinatown became and remains the largest Chinese community outside of mainland China. An enclave of pagoda-roofed buildings and open-air produce bins, the shop windows display all the treasures of the Orient. Nearby is North Beach with its colorful Italian neighborhoods. The Castro District, center of San Francisco's gay community, and the Mission District, where Latino cultures maintain their heritage. Wrested out of 1,000 acres of windswept sand dunes, Golden Gate Park was the vision and lifelong passion of John McLaren, a crusty Scot who was the park's first director. A Victorian conservatory, a superb arboretum, an exquisite Japanese garden, and 3 fine museums are nestled among the trees and lawns McLaren planted. Home to more than 150 wineries, California's Napa and Sonoma valleys are dotted with vineyards and delightful country inns. The grapes produce dozens of premier wines, including Cabernet Sauvignon, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Sauvignon Blanc. Each of the wineries offers wine tasting, insight into the history of winemaking, and often fascinating glimpses into the process itself, from the vines to the grapes, to the crushing, to the casks. On the northwest coast of the continental U.S., the Olympic Peninsula projects across Puget Sound. One of the few temperate rainforests, the peninsula has giant trees whose trunks and branches are thick with moss. Ferns, mushrooms, mosses, and over 300 species of plants fill the forest with a sense of rich luxuriance. Here, the North Coast tribes lived in great prosperity, building comfortable longhouses of cedar and feasting on salmon and shellfish. They still come to these shores to sing ancient songs and perform traditional dances. Edged by the deep blue waters of Puget Sound, dominated by snow-capped Mount Rainier, Seattle has one of the most felicitous locations of any city in the United States. True, it rains from October to April. Undenied rumors circulate that residents don't tan, they rust. But all that rain keeps Seattle's many parks and green belts a rich, luxurious green all year round. Seattle's Space Needle provides a 360-degree view of Puget Sound and surrounding mountains. Overlooking the Sound is Pike Place Market, a farmer's market founded in 1907. Some of the stalls have been handed down for 3 generations.
Nice king salmon. King salmon are the juiciest. This will probably feed about 5 people. What do you think, huh? Nice one? Inbound! Smoking!
A cornucopia of all the richest bounty of the West Coast, Pike Place Market offers fresh-caught king salmon, Dungeness crab, oysters, asparagus, wild mushrooms like morels, chanterelles, and porcini, as well as blueberries, strawberries, peaches, and apricots. It's enough to make a serious cook delirious. Any of several charming islands in the Sound are reached by ferries that run rain or shine. They sail to Elliott Bay, to Bainbridge Island, up the Sound to Whidbey Island, and over to Tillicum Village on Blake Island. On the island, native artists carve the stylized animals that are the totems for each clan, creating what is literally a family tree. The largest state, the northernmost state, Alaska, is the kind of place superlatives were made for. Called Denali, the Great One by the Athapaskans, Alaska's Mount McKinley towers more than 20,000 feet, the highest peak on the North American continent. Denali National Park comprises a stupendous 6 million acres of mountains and tundra, set aside to preserve native wildlife. Spring comes in late June, when carpets of wildflowers cover the ground and the Arctic sun shines 20 hours a day. Along the Katmai Peninsula, some of the world's most incredible fishing takes place. A sinuous cast, the graceful curve of the line, the fragile fly dancing delicately on sparkling water, the rush of the strike, and at last, the prize. A long chain of islands stretches 1,600 miles across the blue waters of the Pacific. The Hawaiian Islands were formed by a series of volcanic eruptions. The larger inhabited islands are all clustered at the southeastern end of the chain, 2,500 miles from the U.S. mainland. Beneath the transparently clear waters of Pearl Harbor lies the USS Arizona. Sunk in the 1941 surprise attack on Pearl Harbor by Japanese bombers, she remains a visible example of what the official inquiry termed the greatest military and naval disaster in our nation's history. The largest dormant volcano in the world, Haleakala was called by native Hawaiians the House of the Sun. From the top of Haleakala, the god Maui lassoed the sun to force it to make its way across the sky more slowly. The valley encompasses 19 square miles and is 3,000 feet deep. But the true experience of Haleakala is the moment of sunrise, when the first light turns the sea silver and the sky